The current news and social media cycles are full of how poverty and race affects individuals in our current housing market, justice system, or with home loans and credit. But have you ever thought of how adding an intellectual disability to an individual's race or gender or economic status compounds their inclusion or status within society? Many individuals with intellectual disabilities are dependent on their Social Security disability income and Medicaid insurance. Medicaid eligibility is very important for those that receive waiver supports within Texas. Imagine you are an individual with an intellectual disability who dreams of living in their own apartment like their brother or sister. You have worked hard to learn to cook. You have practiced your safety skills. You have had to prove to everyone, including your parents or guardian, that you can take care of yourself with limited support. Then reality hits you. The average SSDI check is $1,483 a month for 2023. Many individuals receive far less than this. According to Apartments.com, the average cost of a one-bedroom apartment in Dallas is $1,471, Austin, $1,295, Houston, $1,145, Corpus Christi, $1,100, and El Paso, $1,050. And while individuals who receive SSDI may work, they cannot make more than $1,050 a month. Also, individuals cannot have more than $2,000 in assets. When the dust settles, you realize that you cannot afford to live on your own and must remain at home or move to a group home.
I used to have my own apartment a long time ago, but it got to be way too expensive, so I was put in a group home. I'm going to be staying in a group home for a while until I can, get my money. I want to be back out in the community, but I do want to eventually get my own apartment for sure.
Let's look at another important aspect of human experience: sexuality. Sexuality is our experience and expression of ourselves in thoughts, beliefs, values, behaviors, roles, and relationships. It is more than just our gender or our sexual identity. It includes who we are attracted to physically, emotionally, and psychologically. There are many myths regarding sexuality for individuals with intellectual disabilities, which are baseless and harmful to individuals. Human sexuality is inherent at birth, and it is the right of every individual to experience.
I love being married. I walk down to the corner and wait for him to come home. And we walked home together. And we did the little things together. We watched TV together. He read cartoons out of the funny papers. And we never went to bed without saying, I love you. I loved him. And I still do.
Our relationships, friendships, and connections are essential for our mental health and well-being, and this is the same for individuals with disabilities. They have the same dreams of finding a soulmate, having a life partner, creating a family, and it is critical that everyone receives individualized education and information so they can make the best informed decision for their lives. This education is also important to prevent victimization, as individuals with intellectual disabilities are 7 times more likely to be sexually abused than individuals without an intellectual disability. The expression of sexuality is even more difficult when the individual has a legal guardian. If the individual wants to date, have a relationship, self-identify as gay or lesbian, a guardian can make this a challenge if they are not supportive. A study published in Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities found that Latino and Black adults with IDD had worse health outcomes compared to white adults with IDD. These populations also had worse health outcomes compared to non-disabled adults in the same racial and ethnic group. According to the Office of Special Education Program, Black or African American students with disabilities are more likely to be identified with intellectual disability or emotional disturbance than all students with disabilities, and more likely to receive a disciplinary removal than all students with disabilities. Do race and disabilities cause barriers to employment? As the graphic shows, 20% of white individuals are in integrated employment compared to 14% of Black individuals. Integrated employment means jobs within the community where individuals receive the same pay as individuals without an intellectual disability and have the same opportunities for advancement. Think of how your faith is woven into holidays, traditions, and your family customs. Many individuals with intellectual disabilities are isolated from the religious communities. Even today, disability is seen as shameful, leading families to hide or isolate their child. Religious day schools are exempt from the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. That means if an individual's intellectual or developmental disability is severe, he or she can be expelled from the program, or even worse, excluded from even attending based upon their disability. While there are many religious organizations that embrace inclusion and provide a diverse array of services, many churches, mosques, and synagogues still do not provide accommodations or supports, such as plain language materials, specialized peer group events, or inclusive classrooms for children that still struggle with social skills. It is important for those with intellectual and developmental disabilities to be welcomed in our society's sacred institutions. So why should we dig into all components of a person's identity? What does it matter? First and foremost, it is to ensure that we are addressing bias, prejudices, and discrimination. When individuals with disabilities are discriminated against, it is called ableism. Ableism assumes that individuals with disabilities are less than and they require fixing. Ableism defines the person by their disability. As an elected official or future policymaker or voter, understanding intersectionality and isms allows you to make better informed funding choices, cast votes, and develop laws and policies to ensure that appropriate funding is available and ensure that your laws and policies do not discriminate or create unnecessary barriers for individuals with intellectual disabilities. Your increased and ongoing support will provide a lifeline for vulnerable communities in dire need of enhanced adequate facilities and services.